All right, so good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is, I'll name this segment later, GTG spits that grease, etc., etc., etc. Title in the works. If the title hasn't already given me away just yet, I see this might have to be a reoccurring question. So I'm going to ask you this question now, but then I may ask you guys this again in a couple months and see what you guys think, because the Kino Casino arc isn't over. So we still got a long ways to go. So I might have to ask you guys this again in a few months and we'll see what's up. Try to remind me of that. In any case, if the title yet again hasn't given me away, did DSP do exactly what Kino Casino wanted him to do by dropping all of the DMs? Okay, here's my thought process. If you're PPP, right, and you're sitting here playing 4D chess with some dude who's playing 220 chess and whatnot, or 220D chess, I should say, and whatnot, the snake eater, as he likes to, as he makes himself out to be, the king snake. I wonder, and I honestly think this, I haven't told anybody about this yet, or how I feel about it, but I'm wondering if Kino Casino planned this. I wonder if they planned to have DSP drop the DMs, all of their messages. Now, keep in mind, they came out and said that they were going to go over it and they were going to have a big laugh and this, that, and the third. But by having DSP drop it, he's doing the majority of the work for them. They can fill in the holes. They can button up the parts that need to be cleaned up. They can go over DSP's point of view. They can give their point of view. They can speculate. There's so much more that can be built off of all of this. And because DSP is a reactionary person, because Kino Casino did the proverbial, air quotes, heel turn on him, right? The proverbial Montreal screw job, if you will, or the Renton screw job, or the dented screw job, or whatever you want to call it. I really wonder if this was all part of the plan. Get DSP to do the work. Get DSP to do the work. Get DSP to look bad, look like an idiot, this, that, and the third, and then reap the rewards and take the money, and go back home with the wealth. You know what I'm saying? Carry all of the wealth back to Canada. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? And especially given all the time that PPP and Andy put into this anyway, with very little payoff, let's be honest. They need to recoup. They need to get their money back. Let's be honest. If you guys have been watching Kino Casino closely over this whole arc, Kino Casino arc, their audience wasn't completely receptive to this. They really don't like DSP. They thought he was a buzzkill. They thought he sucked all the excitement out of every time they brought him onto their show. Most of them really didn't care much for Smart Guys 2.0. They like Steve actually more than they like DSP and whatnot. Allegedly, according to PPP, DSP may have made between 40 and 50K over the last 6 to 8 months that they've been working together. Who knows how much they made, but they may have made that. Maybe they potentially could have made more if they could have gotten DSP to play ball. And the best way to get back at your enemies is to make money off them, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Why humiliate them once and that's it, when you can keep reaping them for money? DSP already has the reputation of being a walk-in ATM as it pertains to the FGC. Why not, do the same thing for content and bleed him in such a way that they get their content, the detractors get their content, and it just becomes a circle. DSP will eventually react to it because obviously he's going to get pissed off or respond, and it's just an endless circle, if you will. Everybody makes out like bandits, which will only endear Kino Casino to the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics. That the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics get the normies to, participate in that bullshit, and so on and so forth. It's just an endless cycle. And everybody pretty much reaps the rewards for it besides DSP, because he's just going to get the little money he gets already, and he won't pull anything more on that, except for maybe the troll dollar, but that's up to speculation. Given how PPP and Andy were like, they were kind of waiting for this to end. They were trying to see how far they could go with it. They were trying to see how far they could push him. How how far they could get him to go along with their frame of thinking and all the ideas that they had. This sounds like a really good contingency plan, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be a complete and utter scorched earth. DSP will do that on his own. So he gets rid of all of the dead resources, and then the fertile ground will eventually come up, and then they go ahead and, you know, sow the seeds, and they see what comes out of it. It makes sense to me. I get it. Then again, you know, I'm a mentally ill detractor, so it's supposed to make sense to me, right? Right. But it makes sense to me for that to happen. And PPP has been around DSP long enough to know that DSP is a reactionary fucking individual. And of course DSP was going to try to drop the nuke or Scud missiles or whatever the hell analogy he's using before they do. And I think he just played right into Kino Casino's hands. Even if they didn't have it planned all the way down to the minute detail, they knew enough to be able to maneuver DSP the way they wanted to have this happen. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a whole lot to think in the long term. If that's the case, DSP may have dealt a blow to himself that even, you know, a wound, a gash that he may never heal from. The repercussions that's going to come out of those DMs, bruh, are insane. Absolutely insane. And I don't give a damn about his new snake eater king snake persona. For him to lie the way he lied about the things that he lied about, nah, there's not one rational person that's going to look at that and be like, this is a sane, functional, or functioning, productive, normal person. I don't care. You don't have to like me. You don't have to give a shit about what I say. But you can look at those Discord messages and know, not think, not speculate, but know that there's something wrong there. You have to be a sick monkey, a sick individual, to sit there and come up with that bullshit. And then what makes it even worse, ladies and gentlemen, is DSP's whole little nugget of truth nonsense. Who knows how much of that is actually legit? Like, some of that is actually real or true. And if you take DSP's situation into account, meaning coincide those dates to whatever he said on the pre-streams or through his content, you can probably figure out what's real and what's an exaggeration. So this whole thing about DSP saying, I fed them lies, a means to an end, I did it to get the money, to get the setup, to have better content, quote unquote, he was using them as a stepping stone. That's what he's trying to play it out as. He may have divulged far more information than he should have, which leads to ass clowns like me sitting there speculating for months. I can speculate on that bullshit, and some of it may very well come out to fruition. Especially the stuff about Kat and the weight gain and why they really can't have kids and this, that, and the third, which goes back to the theory that I've had and most other people have had too, that Kat did want to have kids and DSP wasted her time. And then she ended up getting sick, causing the weight gain, and, you know, it is what it is there. And then on top of that, if God forbid, if Kat ends up dying in the Snort fort, what the hell is DSP gonna do then? I want you to really think about that. If she becomes gravely ill, and God forbid, she does pass away, DSP has to live with that. I'm literally gonna be in front of the pack saying, you did that, you killed that girl. You killed that woman. You know you did. And what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say? Her body's gonna be in the ground. How's he gonna explain it? How's he gonna explain all that time where he says, I'm losing weight, guys, I'm getting better, I'm feeling better, and yet she ain't sat there and ballooned up the way she did? How's he gonna explain that? How's he gonna explain where all the money went? Why is it that you weren't able to get her the best medical care possible? Why isn't it that you weren't spending more time with her to help her work that weight off? You know what I'm saying? And help relieve some of that stress and to better your eating habits, because all those DSP tries didn't help the situation. They definitely exacerbated it. How's he gonna explain that? You know what I'm saying? And I'll debate any detractor on that shit. If she ends up passing away, please believe I'm shooting shots downrange. And if I gotta shoot shots across the bow to defend the fact that, yeah, DSP killed that, Philip Paul Burnell killed that woman, who's gonna argue with me? Who's really gonna argue that? You know what I'm saying? And you know Kino Casino low key is damn sure gonna speak on that shit. They're damn sure gonna have a field day with that. Anybody and everybody will. It's bad enough that we already have a lol cow who raped their mother. Now you had a lol cow who killed their wife. Alleged wife. Slash roommate. Slash soulmate. So on and so forth. You get it. What do you do then? How does DSP explain that then? And as morbid as that is, people are gonna make content out of that shit. And it won't take long. It's not gonna take long that if she disappears for a period of time, that people aren't gonna pull a Freddy boy from SOK and start checking the obituaries. It's not gonna take long. There's probably people monitoring that shit now. It's Jesus Christ, bro. You don't even know, bro. If you really, I will. I plan to go through those DMs and whatnot. And supposedly there are people that are already gonna make videos where they're gonna do read-throughs of that shit, so that'll be fun. But I plan to go through those DM messages, bro, because I'm telling you, not all of it, but there's nuggets in there. There's gold dust, there's diamond, there's all kinds of nonsense in there. And DSP can't explain it away. You know what I'm saying? You saw how he reacted when Kino Casino had the read-through with It's a Gundam. You know what I'm saying? He ain't sat there and screwed his own stream over to watch what they were saying. Plus, he ain't sat there and kicked off. He literally shut down the kick chat, or the kick stream, I should say, because of what was going on that. And he's probably going to be pissed off for the weeks to come. This is ugly. And like I said, the situation with Kat, worst case scenario, I hope it doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Because that chick is really young, and she don't need to be leaving the earth just yet. Hopefully, she can find a man that values her, and she can actually get the weight off, actually have a family if that's really what she wants to do. There's life after Phil, Kat. You know what I'm saying? There's life after him. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to live gout or die trying. You don't need to do all that. But like, you know what I'm saying? But that's the point. The point being is that there's so much nonsense in those fucking DM messages that people are gonna be eating for a long ass time off that shit. And if you're Kino Casino, that's what you want. That's what you want. And whatever speculation, whatever edited videos people put together or compilations or whatever, Kino's gonna go over it on their show. They're gonna eat off of it, even though their audience really aren't big on DSP like that. They love laughing at him. You know what I mean? And truth be told, because of DSP's reactionary nature, most of Kino Casino's pay pigs and whales are gonna go back to them anyway with a vengeance. You know, when they are inevitably banned off of DSP streams anyway. And I think DSP fell for a trap. I honestly think DSP fell into a trap of his own making, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, you give DSP enough rope and he'll hang himself. And you always remember that, because I was the one who came up with it. I'm constantly saying it. But on top of that, even more importantly than that, another one of my catchphrases is DSP is his greatest detractor. He is literally his greatest detractor. No one fucks over Dark Side Phil like Dark Side Phil. And I think this right here is just another example of it. When he got in bed with Kino Casino, he sold his soul, or what little he had. And now we get to see all that bullshit in DMs, or at least a portion of it. For good, bad, or otherwise. I honestly think this was the contingency plan for Kino Casino, to be honest with you. Now, how much will they reap from this? Who can say? But I honestly think this was part of the plan. I really do. I really, really do. And we'll see what the fallout is. And I'll have a couple of videos that'll follow on whether, you know, hey, did DSP let this opportunity go too soon? Did Kino Casino not stick in there long enough? I'm gonna put those out there too. I'm gonna pose those questions to you as well. More than likely in a video form, but I'll definitely put it out there now to get you guys primed for it. Is that a thing? Did Kino Casino stop pulling the wagon a little too soon? Could they have played this out? Could they have milked DSP a little bit longer? Would it have been worth it? Did DSP, in all of his laziness, uselessness, and everything else that entails, Did he let his proverbial golden gooses get away from him too soon? Should he have, I know it's going to sound really funny and most of you are going to be like, Golden, you're an asshole for even saying that. You know the answer to this. But still, did DSP not, maybe should he have act like he given a fuck and presented a little bit of effort to keep them on the hook, to keep this going? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he should have dangled the carrot or whatever a little bit longer to keep all of this going for the financial benefit. Because with Kino Casino out of his coffers, the money's going to dry up fast. It's going to dry up fast. And the whales are already dipping. They're already leaving. And the few pay pigs that he had, most of them are dried up anyway. What's he going to do? And unless another government stimulus check or some shit comes along for DSP, these dents aren't going to be able to keep this shit up. 2025 is going to be rough, bruh. And DSP is going to need allies. And most of the allies that he can attract don't have the audience retention, let alone do they have the quality of pay pigs or whales to sustain to sustain those individuals themselves, let alone him. You know what I'm saying? Like, those messages paint DSP out to be far worse than any person who's not initiated to this shit could ever imagine. And even for those of us who are initiated are looking at some of that shit like, Jesus Christ, did you really say that? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going beyond what we thought was low. You know what I'm saying? If I had theorized this shit back in 2017, 2018, 2019, you never would have believed me. I mean, shit, I did speculate stuff, not this stuff in particular, but I did speculate some crazy stuff back in those days, and some of that actually came about. And people swore to God that DSP would never go that low. And that's the thing. There is no bottom of the barrel for how low DSP can go. You know what I'm saying? We're way underground now. We're damn near starting to get to hell, damn near. And there's a lot of rings of hell. DSP will keep going if it can feed the hunger of his greed. If whatever it is to satiate or to attempt to satiate his greed, his ego, and everything else, his addictions, he's going to keep doing it. There is no getting past that. There's nothing to misunderstand by me saying that. If you've been around long enough, you see it, you already know it. This is just another part of it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, it's not, I know most of you are like, yo, Golden, man, it's not that deep. And for some of you, it's not. But if you're someone who makes it your career to snake other people, to get over on other people, it doesn't take much to observe DSP, Dark Side Phil Burnell, Dark Geppetto, and realize what some of his tendencies are, and realize what some of his triggers are, and to be able to enable them, if you will. You know what I mean? And then be able to capitalize. That's all I'm saying. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. I'll name this segment later, GTG Spits That Grease, etc., etc. Take care of yourselves, people. I'll catch you on the flip. Later.